Call the meeting to order at 6 p.m.
Oh, man.
Thank you for everybody attending here tonight. We will be having an invocation by Councilman Miller. Stand if you can, and then the Pledge of Allegiance right after.
Shouldn't have? Shouldn't have. Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Everyone here, today we give thanks for the way of service that we have chosen to take up on behalf of all of us here. We all come to this room tonight as complex human beings, carrying burdens, carrying joy and hope, trusting that our collective and individual intent is for the people and never anything else. And with that, let's have another quick meeting this evening. That's it.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I'm down for having a quick meeting, so let's roll on this. Roll call.
Okay, Mayor Padilla, Deputy Mayor Valdivia Acala,
Here.
Councilmembers Hiller,
Here.
Ortiz,
Here.
Banks,
Here.
Kale,
Here.
Miller,
Here.
Dobler,
Here.
Duncan,
Here.
and Hofer.
Here.
Okay, we have 9 present.
We do have one mayoral proclamation, Disability Mentoring Day. I'm going to go out there to the front, and Jen Van Dalsum will be receiving the proclamation. Hi. Hello. I'm going to read this and then I'll go ahead and present it to you. And thank you for coming here this evening. Proclamation by the mayor. Whereas more than 1 million people with disabilities have entered the labor force since the passage of the Americans with Disabilities Act in 1990, signed by President George H.W. Bush. And whereas, according to the Bureau of Labor and Statistics, the unemployment rate in 2022 for those with disabilities was twice the rate of those without disabilities. And whereas both students and job seekers with disabilities, regardless of age, are striving to attain economic independence through self-sufficiency and gainful employment, but a culture of stigma and misunderstanding has pervaded. And whereas these efforts are made possible through a broad partnership with the Kansas Youth Empowerment Academy, the Capper Foundation, Topeka Shawnee County Public Library, Washburn University, Sparkwheel, and other organizations. And whereas Disability Mentoring Day provides an opportunity for students and job seekers with all types of disabilities to gain insight into career options by spending part of their day in the workplace, shadowing an employee as he or she goes through a normal workday on the job. And whereas the City of Topeka celebrates and recognizes the progress that has been made by reaffirming the principles of equality, inclusion, and recommitting our efforts to reach full ADA compliance. Therefore, I, Michael A. Padilla, Mayor of the City of Topeka, Kansas, do hereby proclaim October 23rd, 2024 as Disability Mentoring Day.
I'm super proud of the committee that I've been able to work with. These are a couple of my members here, Heather Popejoy with Washburn University, and of course my co-worker, Christiana Guerrero. And we've been working for about 6 months to provide an opportunity. We have a group of individuals who are young and excited to work, and they have disabilities, and we're proud of it. And we're putting them together in a room with businesses and organizations who also are hiring. And so we think this is going to be a great time. There'll be some soft skill building before that and resume building, but then that job fair, we're super excited. We're very grateful for our partners, and we've had just a lot of people in our community really embrace this event. So if you have have any interest at all, we still are looking for those businesses to come join our job fair. You can look us up by Googling Shawnee County Disability Mentoring Day. Washburn University also has an event page up as well. So thank you so very much for your interest.
Okay, number 3, we have appointments. City Clerk.
A is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Tony Beck to the Topeka Board of Zoning Appeals to fill a term ending November 2, 2027. B is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Angel Zimmerman to the Downtown Business Improvement District Advisory Board to fill a term ending October 31, 2026. And C is a board appointment recommending the reappointment of Donna Ray Pearson to the Topeka Planning Commission for a term ending October 19, 2027.
Is there a motion from the governing body? Councilwoman Hiller, Councilwoman second Ortiz. And call the vote?
All right, council members Banks,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
and Ortiz. All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
All right, on to number 4, presentations. And we will be hearing from the director of the city manager. Go ahead.
Thank you. Honorable Mayor, members of the governing body, Mary Thomas, the CRC Executive Director and CEO, will take us through this item.
Hi, Mary.
Hello. Lots of slides to get through. I promised I wasn't doing all of them. But since some of you don't know me, but many of you do, nice to see all those friendly faces, I thought I would kitchen sink the approach. So we're just going to speed dial through here. Hopefully this is the right one. Ah, yay. Our mission statement, pretty self-evident. That's our first 100 years. I can't believe in April of next year we will be around 100 years. I have a lot of footsteps to follow, and as we chart our course, we still have remained with the original mission, which is to incubate not-for-profit corporations, to be a leader at the table for social service issues, and to try and craft and create solutions where appropriate. As we create those, we often then set them into a non-for-profit corporation, let them grow, set them free, and they do their thing. And you'll see that through the history here. So our first 100 years, a lot of things going on. We have some milestones there. I'll let you pick up on as you flip through our numbers. One of the bigger things we've done is, as you are aware, we took our first partnership with 501, creating the Avondale East Care Center. It functions completely with not-for-profit corporations, with programs and referral business for those in the community, right in the neighborhood. We like this neighborhood to start with because it's 76% rental, 33% on foot at any given time. It's a very transient feel. It's hard to have a neighborhood community feel to it, but through the presence of CRC and the not-for-profits there, we have created a community in the Highcrest West area. It continues to grow. We've been there 10 years. It changes and evolves by the needs of the neighborhood. Now, what we think needs to happen there, what they tell us they need to have there. It works like this. 501 continues to own the building, acts as the main landlord. CRC has a master lease, and then we sublease to the not-for-profits. We create a turnkey lease. They bring their program, they bring their employees, phone number if they have it, we help them find everything else, and then we take care of everything else so they can do what they do best, their programming. At Avondale East, we have our Appleseed Childcare, which is about to open. Of course, Community Action has been there, a cornerstone from the beginning. We are there, obviously. Fellowship Highcrest Church, Kansas Association of Community Action Programs, SCENT, which is an offshoot of Fellowship Highcrest, their 501c3 entity, and of course, the 501 resource officers. And this is just some great photos of how we all came together. We love our mural. We were one of the first that Topeka Arts Connect put together through the relationship that the City Council has with Arts Connect and the money that you set aside for art grant every year. This was accomplished for the first year. It's 10 years old. The kids, as you can see, spent time putting this mural up. They have ownership in it. It still looks exactly like that today. No graffiti, no problem. Every place that we put a mural, it's always been left alone by the neighborhood and appreciated by the neighborhood. So we also are the recipients of a Born Learning Trail, Compliments of United Way. At the back part of the property, I see kids there all the time, sometimes with parents, but it's still a place for them to go and learn. We've done lots of fixing up. We have a garden here, small, 12 raised beds that families can adopt. We partner with Topeka Metro, putting in a covered bus stop, and the Metro always makes sure they come off the main route of Adams to our property to pick up those folks in the neighborhood that need transportation to and from school, to and from work. It's important to us that they don't have to get all the way to Adams to try and catch a ride to get to where they need to be. And apparently, this worked out so well for 501 and the community and for CRC when they had another school become available where they could no longer keep full with students. They asked us to come again and pick up our second care center location in the thriving neighborhood of Oakland. We've been there a few years. These are who we have working there. Again, Appleseed's Child Care will open in the next few months. Doxazo Ministries, I Am Passionate Dance Studio, Hotspot Technology, Oakland Garden, Silverbacks, and Zumba. We have a few spots available. I love the garden. I can't stop bragging about this garden. It is over 1,500 square feet for the third year. A dozen fruit trees, self-pollinators. It is gorgeous, plus natural plants that they are harvesting those seeds to be one of the resources to find natural native plants for future use. This is some of the opportunity you have to use for meetings, workshops, trainings at Lundgren. This is the media center. Small conference rooms for board meetings or more intimate meetings. This is a look at the garden between the flowers and the vegetables. It's amazing. 6,000 square foot gym, wood floor, love that thing. We do a lot in that room. Beautiful stage. We have a nice partnership with the Northeast Kansas Homeschool Association. They do their spring musical here every year. They fill the place 3 times, over 300 parents and other students watching their programming. And that's the look at the back. It worked out so well that once again 501 came back to us and said, we have another school. Would you like to go again? Someday I'll learn to say no. Not yet. So we are at Stout, what I call Midtown. So we're at South, we're at North, and we're at Midtown. This is on College, a block from Washburn University. Again, here are our tenants. We're full, as in most instances, within 6 months we're full. Appleseed's Child Care will open this month. Thank you very much for approving the code change for the conditional use. We have a parent break, the Topeka Grocery Oasis Group working on the food desert in Midtown. Again, we're there. Family Life Church, which is their Midtown campus from North. FIT, which is a women's Bible study and prayer group. Kansas League of Women Voters, Keep America Beautiful, Remnant Church, Sunflower Communities, which is children, tutoring, and STEM projects. This is some of the meeting rooms. Again, love that table. I can put 22 people around that table. So if you guys got a meeting, come see me. Smaller, more intimate look. This is the gym here. We can seat 70 to 100 for dinner. That's how that sets up. Another small meeting room. And then this is some of the stuff that happens on a regular basis. The above picture is our CRC safe homes. We took the yellow house on the left. It became the right house, on the right, the blue house, and now inhabited by a family. We don't take it down to the sticks. We just do everything we need to do to make it safe and fresh and ready for a new family to put their roots down and start again. We have a lot of mission in our backyard as part of our mission, and it also partners with most of our tenants. They believe the same way we do. Bring it right there where everyone lives. They don't have to go across town to reach the things that they need. We feed kids constantly. We are always been part of the 501 lunch program, more summer camp. We are proud of our association with the resource officers. You can look at the partners if you're interested. The list is long. We are proud of that list, where how we compact the community in the things that we're involved in on a regular basis. Probably 16 different task force, advisory councils, and different boards. We have hosted the Diaper Depot before. That was an amazing night. 25,000 diapers out in about 4 hours. And we do that on a regular basis. Things that we have been able to partner with to bring to the community in all of our buildings: the mural, the bus shelter, playground equipment, a learning trail, little libraries, and so on. We have also been the recipient of several Nancy Perry Day of Caring events. They love to come help us get things spruced up. While each one of these buildings is built in the early 50s, they need a lot of care and feeding to keep them strong and going. So as we also are advocates. Some of the task force and relationships that we're involved in, where we work side by side with our community partners. We research. Obviously, you're getting what CAR means. We help with the determinant maps, several things that happen here. We put out, well, as it says, 28,000 tons of fresh produce just in the Avondale neighborhood alone for the last 10 years. And so you can see the families we've helped, how it breaks out between adults, seniors, and children. For the 10th year, we will be doing free taxes at Avondale. For the 4th year, we'll be doing free taxes at Lundgren. And if I can find some tax preparers, we'd be doing free taxes at Stout too. But I can't find any yet, but I keep looking. We're going to get there. We do decrease crime wherever we settle because of the programming, because of the relationships we build, and sort of the promise of maybe something different when they come through our door, getting the assistance they need, the referrals they need. And it's not just here's a phone number and have a nice day. It is pick up the phone, make that personal referral, get the person connected, make sure they can get there. It's a clean handoff. It's not just go away handoff. It's done right. Education series, that is the other part of our CARE, education. We do a lot of educating through our research in small groups, large groups, depending on what the need is. Some of the folks that we have worked with over the years in our advocacy series is part of our education with government, voting, a lot of different free classes we sponsor and host or participate in. Some of the groups that we sponsor every year, this is schools and communities. And so what we're doing next, we're looking at different ways to utilize our buildings to be an example with our gardens of how to capture your rainwater, to work better with solar energy. We have a garden going in at Stout. They're already turning dirt for a spring garden. The K-State Extension Master Gardeners have elected to move their program to Stout because they have the room to grow. We've got several acres over there. We're quite excited to have them. They want to model off what has happened at Lundgren, where the community, the neighborhood comes and learns. They weed, they feed, they eat, they enjoy. And as part of that then comes the nutrition, learning how to protect and put up your bounty through the winter. So that's the next step at Oakland in helping people through their food insecurities. And that's me. And I think, did we do 5? Did we get it? Yeah. All right. I will take questions. Not sure I have an answer.
Go ahead, Councilman Banks.
I was looking when you were talking about the gyms. I get a lot of requests for information for young kids wanting to know if they could use some of the gyms involved in community resources. Mm-hmm. So the Lundgren gym looks like a good place to practice young kids if you have them. Just wondering if that would be available, or if we could pass that information on what we need to do to get them to come and participate over there.
That gym is a beauty. Plus it has the old wooden pull-out bleachers that do work. It's fantastic. Yes, that gym is available for practice, and we will have to schedule it. Each building has a master calendar. My information's the last page. Tell them to reach out to me. I'll put them in touch with the building manager or whatever their need is, and we'll work it out from there. There are a lot of different groups that use that gym for that purpose, whether it's volleyball, basketball. What's the other thing? Where you throw the bag of corn. God forgive me.
Cornhole.
Thank you. We do cornhole tournaments. I should know better, but it's not my bag.
Councilman Dobler.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Thanks for the presentation. I'm astonished. I looked at this earlier and said, oh my God, 61 slides.
I am sorry.
But you did great, so thank you
Thank
for
you.
that. I'm interested in 1980 on your timeline. The CRC implements a homeless management information system.
Yep.
Whatever happened to that, or is it still in
Well,
existence?
it's still in existence. It actually migrated into a niche business nationally that HUD picked up. And it's you now know it as Client Track. So it started small. We weren't the only ones doing it, but Director Olson at the time saw it somewhere in the regional area, came back and implemented it, because one of the things we've always strived for with our municipal partners is trying to help them understand that we're spreading it out, that the frequent flyers aren't sucking it all up. We're making sure that agencies that receive the grants through city and county understand the importance of their numbers, the follow-up, and to spread the money as far as possible, because there's just not enough. And that's why it was started.
All right, thank you. It seems to mirror a little bit what we're talking about in terms of a database of folks that are unsheltered. So I wonder if there's some connection there that could be expanded. Thank you.
Yes, there can. And I am on compassion strategies and all hands on deck, yeah.
Anyone else? Councilman Kell?
Being involved in the past with CRC, I was appointed actually by Councilwoman Hiller about 7, 8 years ago to the board. And the one thing I can say about this organization is it's just not about meetings or having all these different meetings. It's actually about getting things done and having action behind it. And that was one thing I really enjoyed about being part of that, about that council, was you saw the impacts that were happening. And then now, that was just, at the time, just happened to East. And it was great because it was in the heart of a community that needed it, but now it's branched out into 3 locations in 3 areas that really need it. And it allows people to get the resources. Sometimes it's getting the foot in the door and starting to learn, rather than walking down to DCF or walking to this place and being overwhelmed and not sure what you can and can't do and all this. This is a good place to get your foot in the door and start to learn when you do need help. So, like I said, it's a great place because it's just not a bunch of talk. To me, it's a lot more action than barely any talk.
Thank you, I appreciate that. We're proud of how we help people. It's a philosophy with us, it's the way we live, and we are very pleased that we continue to partner with the city to manage some of their programs where they need utility assistance, tax rebate, and water assistance. So we continue to work those programs, and if you work for one program, you probably qualify for all. So we're going to sit you down and work you through it all, not just take your piece of paper and toddle you out the door. We're going to make sure we've got it all taken care of.
Councilman Miller?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Mary, thanks for the presentation. Great job. The amount of collaborations it takes to make one of those buildings work is invaluable to those nonprofits that come there. When you have other nonprofits helping other nonprofits, the institutional knowledge that they have when it comes to the process and how to get things done, having them in-house and being able to just go around the corner and talk to somebody about the issues that they're going through is extremely valuable to people. And I think you guys are doing a great job, and I want you to continue that. My thing that I had written down was exactly what he was talking about, is that people are always looking for gym space, looking for meeting space, and so figuring out how to get in contact with someone to be able to utilize those resources is extremely helpful. So thank you very much, and continue doing what you do.
Well, thank you. Be sure to pass my name along, because that is what, I love these buildings busy. I didn't mention at Stout, we have 6 different support group meetings of AA, Al-Anon, Alateen, dual addiction, whatever. Every day, there's one kind of group or another meeting in that building. It's an important thing that needs to be offered in the community. So I don't find them, they find me, and we just try to make it work so that everybody's got a place to do their business.
And Mary, speaking as one of the co-founders of the Oakland Garden, I mean, having the space that you have been able to offer has been so beneficial for the Oakland neighborhood and the traffic that we have there, seeing you at the pig roast and seeing all the company that we had come. And, you know, I would say if once you get the extension office over there at Stout and they know any volunteers, we need some more core volunteers at the Oakland Garden because we definitely want to be sustainable in the future. And I don't think that most Topekans know the depth of how deep CRC reaches into community in a frontline capacity. And just want to say a big thank you, to your board, to your employees, to all of the volunteers.
Thank you.
Sure.
Thank you.
Is
We're
there
small. We're only 10 staff, but boy, we push our sleeves up. But
do.
thanks for letting me toot our horn for a minute, because nobody knows who we are, which is a nice thing. We don't show up for the Kodak moment. We show up to do the work.
Agreed.
Y'all take
Thank
care.
you so much. All right, we'll be moving on to number 5, the consent agenda. City Clerk.
A is approval of a workers' compensation claim settlement in the amount of up to $55,000 to resolve the claim with Michael R. Gomez for a work-related injury sustained while engaged in normal work duties. B is approval of a settlement in the amount of up to $397,500 to resolve claims with Jackie Russell arising out of or relating to in any way to Russell's employment with the city on a full and final basis. C are minutes of the special meeting of October 8, 2024, and the regular meeting of October 8, 2024, and there are no applications.
Thank you. Is there a motion from the governing body? Councilman Kell?
The two claims out put them into the action items, please.
Why?
Did somebody say why?
Didn't know what.
Yeah,
Councilman Duncan, would you like to speak?
I mean, that's fine, but that's fine. I guess that's our policy, so.
He's used it himself, so.
I know it doesn't matter, but I would just object to that, but I know that's not how this works, so thank you.
So is there a need for a vote on that, City Attorney? We'll just move it? Okay. Moving on.
Two action items.
Hold on, let me just ask one quick question. So this will be at the very end of all of the
Yes.
action items. Is that correct? This,
Yep.
Okay.
J and K.
all right. Moving on to action items. Oh, I'm sorry.
I'll make a motion to approve the
Second,
consent.
first by Councilman Dobler, second by Councilwoman Ortiz. And the vote?
Councilmembers Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes,
Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akla,
Yes.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Yes.
and Banks.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
All right, now we move on to section 6 for action items. Recognizing the city clerk for an A.
A is a public hearing to consider the adoption of a neighborhood revitalization plan and an ordinance introduced by City Manager Dr. Robert Perez establishing a neighborhood revitalization area, adopting a neighborhood revitalization plan, and authorizing the city manager to execute an interlocal corporation agreement with other municipalities pursuant to the Neighborhood Revitalization Act KSA 12-17-114 at SEEK.
Okay, city manager?
Thank you. Mayor, members of the governing body, Dan Warner, our Planning Division Director, will lead us through this item.
All right, because this is considered a public hearing, at this time, I will open up the public hearing and ask if there is anyone present who would like to speak to the matter. Go ahead. Come up, sir, to the podium. Please state your name, and you also have 4 minutes to speak.
I'll be very quick here. My name is Stephen Osborne. I'm the owner of the property at 520 Northwest Independence that previously was in the Neighborhood Revitalization District for many years. It came to our attention that it would be removed from the NRP district, so we had engaged the city to petition that remain in. A little background on the project: we'd purchased the property about 3 years ago. And unfortunately, my business partner, who was also my father, he had passed away very unexpectedly. So we placed the project on hold. Since then, and this year, we've re-engaged the city for street design, which we're anticipating upgrading Independence Street at our own developer cost. It'll be a huge upgrade to the area. As you may know, there's a beautiful McDonald's there. There's a new Wendy's, a few other locations, and the area is really coming up. It's really becoming a very beautiful area. So I applaud the city council and all of the city departments on the neighborhood revitalization program. I don't have it in front of me here, but I believe there's been something like $500 million worth of investment into these NRP zones over the last several years. I am, by trade, I'm a real estate developer and general contractor. We work nationally, and our entire team, our national team, has focused on the Topeka NRP zone specifically because of this advantage. And so we have been surrounded by some private equity partners that want to invest in this area. So I'm not aware of any discourse on this particular topic, but I just wanted to come here and let you know that this is important to us. We've been working with the city for this project, and this particular property on Independence Street is selected to be a grandfathered property because we were previously working on this project. We're looking at moving forward here in late 2024, early 2025, if everything goes well. So very exciting things for the area, and I just want to support approving the NRP plan as presented tonight.
Thank you.
Yep. Thank you.
Do I still, City Attorney, go through the additional 2 other calls?
That has been past practice here. It's not required by law, but absolutely it's past practice.
Okay, so second call, at this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anyone present who would like to speak to the matter. And the third time, at this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anyone present who would like to speak to the matter. The public hearing is now closed. And are there any governing body members that would like to make any comments at this time? Councilwoman Hiller?
Could we have a presentation? And hopefully maybe Dan could address this set aside when he does that.
Oh, my bad. Hey, Dan, why didn't you tell me anything? Yes, go ahead with the presentation.
Thank you.
Make it quick. I'm just joking.
No, Thanks. Okay, so just a quick update on process. So we presented a draft of this plan to the governing body on June 18th. That kicked off a series of meetings and discussions with all the other taxing entities throughout the summer and fall. There are 10 total, so we went to talk to 9 other taxing entities over the summer. Had a very similar conversation with all of them, good comments. So the governing body, you might remember, approved the resolution to set the public hearing on September 17th, and tonight we're having the public hearing. Next. Right. Got it. All right. So the program was originally approved in 1995. So we go all the way back to 1995 with our data. We have 903 total applications. 647 have been approved. $515 million invested by private property owners over that time. It's commercial and residential projects. So back to 1995, that was the first application. It's a 10-year rebate period. So in 2006, that was when those first applications came off the rebate. So that money started coming back to the taxing entities directly. So from 2006 to 2023, this new tax revenue, all taxing units, $34 million. City of Topeka's share of that is $8.3 million. And then sort of the return on investment, so every dollar rebated, $8 have been invested by private property owners. The program targets the city's intensive care and at-risk neighborhoods. 70% of the investments happened in those neighborhoods since 2004. We've had $165 million invested downtown, $98 million in historic properties. So if we look at the map here on the screen, again, I mentioned that we target the at-risk and intensive care neighborhoods, so that's the pink and the red on the map. We base that on 2023 neighborhood health data. That's something that we update earlier this year, so we're on a 3-year cycle now. So when we update neighborhood health, we update the NRP. So we'll be back again in 3 more years to do this. So the boundary is reducing a square mile, so it's 19% of the city. When we updated the plan 3 years ago, it had reduced a square mile, and I believe before that it had reduced a square mile. So what's happening there is the neighborhood health is improving. So if the neighborhood goes from at-risk to outpatient, it's removed from the boundary. So what Mr. Osborne was talking about then is the neighborhood that his property is located in, it had graduated to outpatient, so that is coming out of the boundary. But his project and a couple others that have been in progress with us this year, in various stages, he talked about all the work he's done. We decided to leave them in and essentially grandfather them as part of the new update. So trying to be square with some work that's already been done. One thing real quick some example projects from this current time. So at 4th and Washburn, there's a school attached to a church there that was converted to residential units. That's Potwin Lofts. And then we've had a number of new houses built within the neighborhoods. I'll go over this real quick. So the rebates are, if you increase your appraised value through the work that you've done, 10% for residential or 20% for commercial, then you're eligible to have your property tax return based on your improvements. So a simple way to think about this, if you're paying $100 in property taxes now and your work causes your taxes to go up to $200, it's that $100 increment that's eligible for the rebate. The base taxes are not part of the rebate. We have 3 rebate types, 95% for 5 years, 50% for 5 years. Standard plus 10 is 95% for 10 years, and that targets the intensive care neighborhoods, historic properties, and any new infill housing unit. So any new housing unit's eligible for the full rebate. And then a standard plus 20, which adds a potential for 10 more years onto a project. That's eligible in a TIF district. There's a $10 million investment, and it must include housing. But that really requires governing body approval to add up to another 10 years to a standard plus 10. We don't require a but-for test for the standard rebates. We target the most investment challenged areas. 60 days you have to file a permit. But we do have a but-for study required for the standard plus 20 for those properties outside the NRP area. And that's governing body approval on those. And related to that, so the governing body can approve a dilapidated structure worthy of preservation outside of the area. So the Menninger Tower site was included in the last update. Bring that forward. So just a reminder that building is part of the NRP even though it's well outside the boundary. And so the next steps, so holding that public hearing tonight, if the city adopts the plan, when and if the city adopts the plan, then it's incumbent on the city then to ask the other taxing entities to sign the interlocal agreements. And that has to be done by the end of the year. This program expires at the end of the year. That's all I have.
Are you sure? That's it?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Any comments from the governing body? Councilwoman Hiller?
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor. Dan, we talked today in a correction to the map for your plus 20.
Right. So we, on a map, we left out the South Topeka TIF district. So we'll add that to a map. That's a little administrative change. That's no big deal. And then there's a little legend that should have been removed as well. So we'll just fix the map once we get, approval.
And just to clarify then, for these TIF districts, the downtown district as well as SOTO or the South Topeka Boulevard district, that designation as a TIF district and then including them in this plan means they can kind of pick which one. Both are tax rebates. One is pretty simple as you described. The other is more involved but is intended for a much more complex project, so by including them here, we let them pick.
Correct,
Correct?
yes.
Thank you. Thank you.
Anyone else in the governing body? A motion for a vote? Councilman Dobler, second Councilman Kell. Call the roll.
All right, council members Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Aquila,
Yes.
council members Ortiz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
and Kell.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
Moving on to action item 6B, public hearing ordinance establishment of Riverstone Myers Place subdivision, RHID. City Clerk?
B is a public hearing to consider the establishment of the Riverstone Myers Place subdivision reinvestment housing incentive district and adoption of the plan, and an ordinance introduced by City Manager Dr. Robert Perez establishing a reinvestment housing incentive district, RHID, for the Riverstone Myers Place subdivision and adopting a plan for the development of housing and public facilities in the RHID.
City Manager?
Thank you. Mayor, members of the governing body, Rhiannon Freeman, our Planning Development Director, will lead us through this item.
Okay, before the public, for Rhiannon's presentation, open the public hearing. At this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anyone present who would like to speak to the matter. Once, twice. At this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anyone present who would like to speak to the matter. And finally, at this time, I will open the public hearing and ask if there is anyone present who would like to speak to the matter. Rihanna?
Thank you. Good evening. I'm going to give her a couple seconds to pull this up here. Perfect.
I want to just say one thing. The public hearing is now closed.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Whoops.
Am I using this, Taylor? Okay, it's a lot of options. Okay, sorry about that. So tonight, I'm here in front of you seeking approval of the development agreement for the Riverstone, formerly Myers Place subdivision, RHID. All right, so it's been a little bit since we've talked about this because RHID does have quite a built-in process. So just to provide a refresher on the location and the project, so Riverstone is located at the northwest corner of Lyman Road and Vale Avenue. So it falls just to the south of North Highway 24. You'll see the map on the right shows the platted parcels that make up a portion of the 15 new single-family homes that are being proposed in the phase 1 of the development. Gen 3 Construction is the applicant for this application, and they're proposing 15 new homes. They will be a mix of 3-bedroom, 2-bathroom, ranging in size, and then the cost ranges from roughly $260,000 to $325,000, just depending upon layout. My understanding that some of them will have basements, but not all of them, so that is another reason for some of the cost discrepancy. Okay, so when I say we've been working on this for a long time, I will not dare read this slide to you, but just to kind of give you an overview, this outlines the timeline tied to the steps that are laid out in our RHID policy and the state statute. They're there for good reason. A lot of due diligence goes into this process. So started working with Gen 3 Construction and Walker Bassett back in March 14th. And then bringing us here to the final development agreement, seeking approval for that. Roughly 7 months. I will say there was a concentrated period of time where several months are taken going back and forth, doing a financial analysis, working to better understand the process, their sources and funding, just to make sure that we're being good stewards of funds and putting the right reimbursement in front of the project. All right, so digging a little bit more into the reimbursement itself. After review of the financial analysis and negotiations back and forth with the developer, the city has an RHID review team. We came together and agreed to an absolute cap of $385,000, which equals about 9.5% of the total project costs. You can see the total project costs are listed in the left column underneath the sources and uses of funding, right around $4 million. And then you'll see on the right-hand side is the qualifying expenses. So land acquisition, site prep, public infrastructure, items like that. So while there was an eligible amount of $451,000, the agreement that we came to was the cap of $385,000. All right, so working with the developer to understand their capacity and the build-out schedule, the RHID review team, in partnership with our financial advisor, determined that an earn-up structure would be a good compromise to ensure the completion and the payout were working well together. So this is just a snippet of it. I know that might be confusing, but my PowerPoint slides get a little long-winded. So essentially what this is the first part here is upon the completion of the first 4 homes, completion meaning certificate of occupancy or past inspections, then it will increase from 0 up to $110,000 eligible to be reimbursed for those qualifying expenses. And then the next 7, $110,000, $200,000, so forth, until we hit the 15 homes and the $385,000 max. Final build out is estimated to be done near December of 2026. And last but not least is the financial but-for test. So the financial analysis that's included in the packet projected that the leverage returns of the project without incentives would likely be at the bottom end of the estimated market rate of return. That's the base scenario, the 16.31%. And that the project with the benefit of the RHID reimbursement at the negotiated cap of the $385,000 would be near a midpoint of estimated market rate of returns. After talking with the developer, we were advised that the lending commitment and some of those sources were pending upon this investment and having extra sources of income to make the project successful. So with that being said, that's my presentation. I know that's a lot of information, but happy to answer questions. I also have Walker Bassett with Gen 3 Construction here, who said he'd be happy to answer any questions you might have as well.
Thank you, Rihanna. Any questions by the governing body? Anyone? No one? Good. Is there a motion from the body?
Move approval.
Councilman Dobler, and second, Councilman Miller. Call the vote.
Councilmembers Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akla,
Yes.
Councilmembers Ortiz, Banks,
Yes.
Kale,
Yes.
and Miller.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
All right, on to 6C, ordinance Northwest Lower Silver Lake rezoning. And City Clerk?
C is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Dr. Robert Perez, amending the district map referred to and made a part of the zoning ordinances by Section 1850-050 of the Topeka Municipal Code by providing for certain changes in zoning on property located on the south side of Northwest Lower Silver Lake Road, approximately 1,000 feet east of Northwest Button Road, from R1 Single Family Dwelling District to I1 Light Industrial District.
Okay, City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the governing body. Dan Warner, our Planning Division Director, will lead us through this item.
And Dan?
Deputy Mayor, governing body, good to see you again. So real quick on this one. There we go. So the proposal here is to rezone that subject property from R1 to I1, and it's to facilitate a future light industrial project. The project's 3.9 acres. It's currently vacant. There's no specific development proposed at the time. So I want to point out, so the property is surrounded by a number of properties zoned single family. But however, this isn't really an intensely developed residential area. There's very large lots. So the area really has been transitioning more towards industrial type uses. So the applicant held a neighborhood information meeting. Planning Commission considered this item and unanimously recommended approval. Staff is recommending approval as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Is there any questions? Okay, for this, I will have to read ex parte communication required. Prior to the proceeding with the vote, each member of the governing body who has engaged in ex parte communication with any individual, either in favor of or against the matter being considered, must state that the communication occurred and indicate that even in light of having engaged in the communication, they were able to fairly, objectively, and impartially consider the measure based only upon the evidence provided on the record. The record includes the Planning Commission meetings, minute meetings, the staff report and its attachments, the public comments made during the Planning Commission hearing, and similar relevant information related to the matter. Has there been any ex parte? No? Okay. Motion from the governing body? Motion by Councilman Kell, second. Councilwoman Hiller, call the vote.
Okay, council members Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia-Akla,
Yes.
council members Ortiz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
and Dobler.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
All right, thank you. Are you up here again? Okay, we're moving on to action item 6D, ordinance zoning code amendments to support housing development. City Clerk?
D is an ordinance introduced by City Manager Dr. Robert Perez concerning density and dimensional standards in residential districts, amending Section 1860-020 of the Topeka Municipal Code and repealing original section.
City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the governing body. Dan Warner, Planning Division Director, will lead us through this item.
Okay, this is a time where public comment is allowed. Is there any public comment? Go ahead, Dan.
Thank you. Bear with me a little bit. This will be a little bit longer of a presentation, but I want to make sure to explain this the best I can. So the purpose of the text amendments is really to address barriers to housing development that we see in the zoning code, and also to develop an affordable housing incentive as part of the zoning code. So what are the barriers? Really, we see this as a cost to develop, and also the time and uncertainty that can come with some of this. So the process so far, the Special Committee on Housing, it's a Planning Commission committee. They met multiple times to discuss the text amendments. And through that process, staff spent time researching peer communities to figure out, what are they doing versus what we're doing versus what we're trying to change. And then the committee held a focus group meeting with affordable and market rate housing developers. That was a really well-attended meeting. We had affordable and market rate housing developers in the meeting and providing some feedback and comments on the changes. When it got to Planning Commission, they discussed the amendment at a regular meeting on August 19th and considered the amendment at a public hearing on September 16th and recommended approval. So the text amendments are first, reduce building setbacks in the R1 single-family districts. That's just for that single-family zoning district. Reduce minimum lot dimensions. That's across the residential zoning districts. And then ease restrictions on maximum density. That's really for the multifamily districts. And then including an affordable housing incentive. So the idea here is to permit an administrative increase in the allowed density for the inclusion of affordable units. So first up here is the reduce the minimum lot dimensions. You can see the strikeouts and the additions across the residential districts on the side there in the table. Real quick, so the R districts are the single-family zoning districts. That's where most of you see residential subdivisions that are probably zoned R1 or R2. The M's are the multifamily zoning districts. So the M's allow a range of multifamily units types, depending on, from M1 all the way up to M3, which is more kind of the high-rise stuff. So duplex all the way up to high-rise falls somewhere in the M districts. So how does this relate to cost then as one of the barriers? So you can imagine someone's creating a subdivision and they have a section of street on there and they can get 15 lots on that. So maybe with our standards, since we're reducing the minimum lot widths, they can get 3 more lots in there. So those 3 more lots is 3 more houses you can charge that street to, those water lines to. So it helps pay for that infrastructure by getting some more units, getting some more density in that development. One thing I want to point out also is this is primarily for new plats, so new subdivisions, the changes we're making here. We've got a number of many lots within the interior of the city that were platted before 1940 at least that are 25-foot wide. So just a series of 25-foot wide lots in all these neighborhoods. We have flexibility in our zoning code today to deal with those lots. If you have a 25-foot wide lot, you want to build a house on that, all we're going to require you to do is meet setbacks. We're not going to consider these dimensional standards, the lot size, the width, and all that. So we're essentially grandfathering those 25-foot wide lots and allowing them to build. So just a point to make there with that. So the reduced front setback requirements, we're really only doing this in the R1 single-family district. And we got this information or this issue direct from the work group meeting. So the point that was trying to be made to us was it costs money to, build a driveway, to build, the water line. So what we're doing here is reducing the front setback minimum from 30 to 25. So the ability to push that house 5 feet closer to the street, and that's 5 feet less driveway, that's 5 feet less water line. That impacts the cost to develop that house. So that's another change kind of related to cost. So the density requirements is the next thing. So we've got density requirements in all 4 of the multifamily zoning districts, and they're too restrictive. So here's an example. So there's a couple apartment buildings that were built probably in the 50s, and they're 2-story. They've got all their parking. They're right either within or right next to these single-family neighborhoods, so they fit in fairly well. You count the units and count the size of that lot, and that density of those apartment buildings is not compliant with our density standards. So essentially, you could not rebuild that, I guess. But what we're trying to do, partially what we're doing with the density changes is to make these more compliant so we can allow that kind of development. To the next point, so if somebody comes to us on a property zone M2 and they want to build, an apartment on there, but they want to do 18 units or 20, our standard is 15. They can make it work with 18. Sorry, you're going to have to rezone. There's the time and uncertainty in that process. So by moving the density to 25, we're providing more flexibility in that M2 to make a project work and not requiring somebody to go through a zoning process because of a density issue. And the last thing here then is the affordable housing incentive. So the idea here is, so we will administratively permitted a density increase of 40% for a minimum of 30% of the units being affordable. So affordable means households with income of 60% or less of the area median income. So the example here, somebody wants to build in M2, they've got 25 units, they're maxing out their density. The proposed, if we change it to 25, they're at the cap. We can allow them to build 35, so 10 more units if they can keep the rent less than 60% for at least 30% of the units. So 11 of the 35 units are affordable. They can add 10 more to that and go over the density cap for a affordable housing incentive. That's all I have. If there's questions, I'd be happy to try to answer them.
Any questions by the governing body? Councilman Dobler?
Thanks for the presentation, Dan. Just a quick question. How long is that if you allow more density for affordable housing? Assume that's some sort of agreement. Does that go with the title? How long does that last?
That's a great question, Councilman. I don't know that we've worked that out yet. I think when we get one, we'll start to process it. We've got a process with RHIDs or some other type of projects that we can kind of borrow from. But yeah, we didn't really establish a timeline on that in the zoning code at this point, but we'll try to work on that if we ever get one.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Councilwoman Hiller?
Kind of a comment, I suppose. I just want to applaud the initiative of the planning staff as well as those members, particularly the members of the Planning Commission that formed that committee and worked on this. I will share with folks that when I read through this, because it was the first time out just this week, I kind of panicked because of the 25-foot lot thing. So we've had some conversation I'm advised that, that there is a section 18.230.020 that provides for the grandfathering that Dan talked about earlier, and that can be footnoted in with this chart. I don't think we need to, if it's just a footnote, I imagine we don't need to change anything tonight. If we pass this, we'll be fine, and you can put it in there. My understanding is that this group is going to continue to work on some of these issues, and it's much needed. My concern when I saw this was, oh my gosh, if somebody looks at this chart, almost all the lots in District 1, 2, 3, and part of 4 are 25-foot lots, and it looks like they're too small and not eligible when you look at a reduction that's still 5,500 square feet. If your lot is 25 feet by, ours are kind of deep in Central, but in Oakland they're shorter, but if it's 150, that's still only, that's 3,700 square feet, way under that 5,500 minimum. And so there are some technicalities too in this exception thing about people owning other lots on the block and parcels not being eligible if they're owned by the same owner. At least in Central, what happens is when a lot becomes vacant, when the city tears down a home, they sell the empty lot to the neighbor or give it to them. People buy the lots where the house is in trouble or the lot is vacant just to secure the block. So I think there's still work to do. We've got a chance to go back in 6 months, so I don't want to hold anything up today. But I'm eager to have that ground up view of those of us who really want to make sure that coast looks real clear to everybody for the redevelopment of those vacant lots in our districts. I'll speak for Central myself, but at least 3 and 4, probably 4 of us in particular, face that small lot issue. And with the ideas of, you've got more density on multiple family at this point, which was a focus, and for undeveloped land, which is important as well. But for us to have it real clear that if you want to redevelop this lot, you can, is important. Thank you.
Thank you. I would add on to that, Dan, to make sure that what is provided in those updates as you move forward that Councilwoman is talking about is that they are provided to the full governing body in case the other districts want to know with what she is referencing, and make sure to keep us on the loop, Councilwoman Hiller. Yes, Councilman Banks?
Thank you, Dan. I'm just happy to make a comment on planning flexibility. I think it's much needed, and I'm really, really happy to know and hear that we are being flexible in our planning. Thanks. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Anyone else? Councilman Miller?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Appreciate you, Dan. Earlier you mentioned how this change is primarily for new lots. Who's it generally for?
So it's probably mostly for the creation of new lots, but this could fix some existing lots in the central city that might have 37.5-foot wide in R1 or R2, and now we're saying, well, that's okay now. We've kind of blessed that. There's potentially some things, when people add on to their house that these things might help with. It's really meant to just be more flexible for housing construction overall.
Okay. I appreciate that clarification.
Anyone else? Is there a motion from the body? Councilman Banks, second by
Second that.
Councilman Miller. Call the vote.
Councilmembers Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala.
Yes.
Councilmembers Ortiz, Banks,
Yes.
Kale,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
and Duncan.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
All right, moving on to 6E, ordinance, Land Bank Administration Property Amendment. City Clerk.
E is an ordinance introduced by Councilmember Spencer Duncan concerning the Land Bank Administration of Property, amending Section 6 of Ordinance Number 20426 to be codified at TMC 2260060.
Okay, City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the governing body. I will ask Rhiannon Friedman, our Director of Planning and Development, and Councilman Duncan to lead us through this item.
All right, I will say that public comment is allowed for this particular ordinance. Is there any public comment?
Braxton.
Please state your name.
My
We
name's
have 4
Henry
minutes.
McClure. How are you? Thank you. It's really nice just to have the opportunity to come and talk about something just like on the fly. I'm telling you, in the long run, this land bank's a bad idea. I know you guys are trying to work on it and do something good, a lot of nice people, but you got to look at it this way. And I'm going to talk about this at a little more at the end of the meeting. We have between 1,100 and 1,400 properties that we still need to collect back taxes on over at the county. And we're better off just giving the real estate, like my friend over here said, that the neighbors will grab it just to protect the block. That's smart, yeah. We're better off giving the land to a taxpayer. So there's no difference in the land bank and people that haven't paid taxes. It's just like we're guaranteeing that we're not going to collect money on it. That's not our business. All our business is we got to look at like Shawnee County and every parcel that isn't either paying taxes by people that own the real estate or that sits in land banks. You got a land bank already at the Commerce Park. You bought land from me 18 years ago, and it sits vacant. You could say you've paid $90 million in the meantime to market that, but that's a whole nother subject. So what you want to do, and what we have to do as citizens, we've got to get people paying taxes on property that we have. We got to quit trying to think that we're smarter than the next guy and let the market decide. I think in the long run, this group will find out that being in the real estate business is going to be kind of tough. And I'm not here gloating. I think I got a way to get you out of the hotel. I see it. But we got to get people and quit trying to decide who those people are. Just let the market decide who those lots should go to. And the faster you get people paying just real estate taxes on it, you're better off. Just let the market decide. Thanks.
Thank you. Any comment from the governing body? Councilman Kell?
Well, to be the land bank is for the low to moderate income communities. And I don't see developers knocking down doors to get in those communities and try to revitalize those houses because they don't see the economics in it on going in there and trying to build up a house and charging 3 times what the rest of the neighborhood is worth. And when it comes to taxes, an abandoned, fallen-in house assessment is going to be nothing. A fixed-up house with occupants in it is going to be assessed a lot higher and bring in a lot more taxes that way. And this is what it's for, is for trying to revitalize the neighborhoods that need revitalization. And so just by sitting there saying, oh, lots of developers doing it, like I said, where are they at when it comes to these LMI neighborhoods trying to take these houses and do it? And again, higher assessment when someone's in there, the house is fixed up, there's your taxes compared to an empty, fallen-in house that's worth nothing in 10 years after it's been demolished. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? Is there a motion from the governing body?
Can we have a presentation?
Oh, Spencer. All right. Go ahead, Councilman.
So this is just a reminder that this ordinance we discussed 2 weeks ago, this is the change to the ordinance that would allow the land bank program to take in to rental units or sell them to individuals who would transfer them to rental units. I won't rehash that. Just a reminder, though, that all the same standards of the land bank would still apply. The land bank program is also working on some additional standards for folks. So rules like you couldn't be out of state and some additional standards. We did get some recommendations from Councilmember Hiller that we made those corrections, and there were a few others who had ideas. So we've tweaked it accordingly, and this is just a follow-up from that conversation 2 weeks ago to try to get this passed and let the land bank folks move forward with it.
Thank you. A motion for a vote, if there's no one else?
Move to approve.
I move to approve.
Councilman Miller and second, Councilman Duncan. Call the vote.
Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Councilmembers Ortiz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Kale,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
and Hofer.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
All right, moving on to 6F, Labor Agreement, International Association of Firefighters, City Clerk.
F is approval of a 3-year labor agreement between the City of Topeka and the International Association of Firefighters, Local Union Number 83.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the governing body. Chief Phillips and Mary Kuckelman from the City Attorney's Office will lead us through this item. Before we move forward, I do want to thank all of the teams that worked on this, between the Fire Union, Human Resources, our City Attorney's Office, Budget. Did an excellent job, and I appreciate all of the cooperation and willingness to work together to get us to this point. So thank you all.
Also, before we start this labor agreement, there is public comment, if anyone wants to come up for public comment. If not, go ahead, Chief.
Thank you. City Manager already kind of took off where I was going to start. I wanted to thank the Firefighters Union representatives and members of the city's negotiating team for their hard work on reaching this agreement. This is a 3-year contract that covers years 2025 through 2027. As you are aware, over the last couple of years, we've made changes to our hiring process to assist with recruiting efforts. One of the main changes was the removal of the EMT requirement for hiring of new applicants and assisting new hires to obtain their EMT certification. This has resulted in different academy timelines for recruits who hire on with their EMT certifications and those who obtain it after hire. One of the agreements that we reached during this negotiation period was to clarify the establishment of seniority for those new hires moving forward to address those differences. Another area where changes were agreed to is how we evaluate and train senior captains for temporary filling in the battalion chief cars. This allows us to conduct periodic evaluations and better identify areas we may need to provide additional training for those individuals. There was also an adjustment to the ad pay for ALS level trained personnel who provide that advanced level of care to our citizens. This is our advanced EMTs and paramedics. We believe this will help us work towards not only getting additional current personnel trained to that level, but also with recruiting efforts for individuals who already possess those certifications. The more personnel we have trained to the ALS level, the more companies that we can staff to provide that advanced care across the city, thereby making our city safer for our residents and visitors. The overall wage package that was agreed to during these negotiations is one that we believe is fair and one that will allow us to remain competitive with other area departments as it relates to recruiting and retention of employees. Along with raises to base wages and the increased ALS pay, another notable area is the change in the rate our employees are compensated at for holidays. This will put the firefighters more in line with other city departments as well as other area fire departments. And with that, I would recommend approval, and I'll stand for any questions.
Any questions, governing body? Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Mayor, Deputy Mayor. I see that there's some representatives here in the room today. I don't know if this is allowed or not, but if there's anything that they would like to say about this in support of or anything at all? No?
I think we have any comment.
Being watchful. Motion to approve by Councilwoman Ortiz, second by Councilman Dobler. Call the vote.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Councilmembers Ortiz,
Absolutely.
Banks,
Yes.
Kale,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
and Hiller.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
All right, moving on to thank you, Chief, thank you. Moving on to 6G, Resolution Fleet Garage Project Budget Increase. City Clerk.
G is a resolution introduced by the Public Infrastructure Committee comprised of council members Sylvia Ortiz, David Banks, and Neil Dobler, amending the 2024 to 2033 CIP and the 2024 to 2026 CIB to increase the budget for project number 131082, Fleet Building Replacement.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor, members of the governing body. Jason Tryon, Deputy Public Works Director, will lead us through this item.
Okay, before that starts, public comment is allowed. Is there anyone that wants to make public comment? If not, go ahead, Jason.
So the next two items are both covered by this topic. So in the interest of Councilman Miller's request at the beginning of the meeting, I'll cover both of them briefly. So the first item that you have before you is an amendment. So last week we were before you requesting permission to purchase property for the purpose of building a light-duty fleet garage. What you have before you tonight is an amendment to the CIP project, which would allow for the entire construction cost to be covered by that amendment. You can see a breakdown of the costs on the board. So the amount that we would be requesting would be $8,697,608. That amount covers the full cost of acquisition, design, and construction of the building. And just as a reminder, there are two separate sources of revenue that will be contributing to this project. One is the compensation for our existing building, and then we will also be seeking federal relocation assistance for the construction. So the city's obligation for the project would only be $1,888,467 plus any financing costs. The second item that is under consideration is a contract to our design build team for the full cost of that construction. So we have two existing amendments in place that cover the design. This amendment to that contract will cover the cost of construction. Just a reminder, our current facility is going to be demolished. Our deadline for that is March 31st, 2025. So we are on a very tight timeline. The construction for our new facility is scheduled to begin on Monday. So starting on Monday, they will be moving into that facility to begin demolition and start construction, pending your approval tonight. We hope to have partial occupancy of the building by March 31st with final completion on August 11th. So as I said, this is a very tight timeline that we're working on. And this is just a rendering of what the building will look like when completed from the southeast. And with that, I would take any questions that you may have.
Any questions, governing body? Councilman Kell?
I just wanted to mention, I mentioned to the city manager, I think we need to, as quickly as possible, either get the fence up that we've discussed with going in this or some barricades up, as that lot is being used for other things that, now that this is our property, we could be liable for. I know Frito-Lay's using it for training, and other people are just driving through and things like that. So I think this way it sets the city up well, even if it's just a temporary barrier for now, just something to take the liability off the city in that area, because I live right by there and there's plenty of traffic through our zone of that now.
Thank you. Councilman Dobler?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. So just to reiterate, we didn't ask for this move. This is part of the major construction project that's going on with the interstate downtown. But in essence, we're getting an $8 million building, plus or minus, for less than $2 million. And we'll end up with a maintenance facility that should last for a long time compared to what we've got right now. So am I stating that correctly?
That's absolutely true.
Thank you.
Councilman Dobler, I say there's some truth to that, because I had two questions today that thought the whole $8 million was going, and then telling them that it was KDOT and the Pope Quincy Viaduct. That had a lot of relief, so that's good to point that out. Any other comments? Motion to approve by Councilman Kells. Second by Councilman Banks. Call the vote.
Councilmembers Ortiz?
Yes.
Banks?
Yes.
Kell?
Yes.
Miller?
Yes.
Dobler?
Yes.
Duncan?
Yes.
Hofer?
Yes.
Hiller?
Yes.
And Deputy Mayor Valdivia Aquila.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
Moving to 6H, Contract KBS Contractors Incorporated Design Build City Fleet Maintenance Garage Project. City Clerk?
H is contract amendment between the City of Topeka and KBS Constructors Incorporated for the City of Topeka Fleet Maintenance Garage Design Build Project 131082.
And City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor, members of the governing body. Jason Tryon, Deputy Public Works Director, will lead us through this item.
Okay, before we start, there is allowance for public comment. Is there any public comment? If not, go ahead, Jason.
So we went over the amount of the contract and what it covers. If there's any additional questions, I'm happy to answer them.
Councilman Dobler?
It's all right. Move approval.
Okay, second? Councilman Kell, call the vote.
Councilmembers Banks,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
and Councilmember Ortiz.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
Okay, moving on to action item 6I, Resolution 2026 Fire Department Fleet Replacement. City Clerk?
I is a resolution introduced by the Public Infrastructure Committee comprised of Councilmembers Sylvia Ortiz, David Banks, and Neil Dobler, recommending approval of project number 9033 for the 2026 Fire Department Fleet Replacement Program.
City Manager?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the governing body. Chief Phillips will lead us through this item.
Okay, before that, public comment is allowed. Is there anyone that wants to make public comment? If not, go ahead, Chief.
Thank you. In January of this year, TFD placed an order with Pierce Manufacturing to purchase an aerial fire apparatus for 2026 with approved CIP funds for that year. Due to extended production schedules, as a result of supply chain issues and large backlog of orders, it's necessary to order this far in advance to ensure delivery of the appropriate calendar year per the CIP schedule. There are different configurations of aerial apparatus that we can order. Two of the most common types would be an aerial apparatus that's known as with a straight ladder or just the large ladder on top. And then what most departments prefer and what the department has operated with for a number of years is with what we call an aerial platform apparatus, or the one that has the bucket on the end of it. The platform is preferred for its added versatility and safety for both firefighters and potential victims who may be rescued utilizing the aerial. The platform gives us much more flexibility and capability than just the regular straight ladder. When we originally placed the order, we believed that due to cost that we would need to purchase a straight ladder versus the platform. In recent discussions with our manufacturer, we have been able to secure the ability to change the order to an aerial platform apparatus and stay within the original budget amount in our CIP line item for that year. However, it does increase the overall price of the apparatus by a little over $265,000, but we will still be within the original approved CIP amount for 2026. So we are, due to the increase in the cost, we are back before you asking for approval. And with that, I will stand for any questions.
Any questions? Councilwoman Hiller?
Thank you. You all raised the issue about weight of our aerial trucks in particular recently. Will these particular models come in under that weight limit?
No, and we did do some research because of that, and even with the straight ladder, we still wouldn't come in on some of the limited areas where we're not to be driving our aerials over as we move forward. So we did look at that, but unfortunately, no. Either version of what we can order now would not come in underweight.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Councilwoman Ortiz?
I think the bucket is much needed and it's much safer, and with that, I'll make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion by Councilwoman Ortiz, second by Councilman Banks. Call the vote.
Councilmembers Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Councilmembers Ortiz,
Yes.
and Banks.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
All right, thank you, Chief. Now we're going to...
Deputy Mayor,
Yes, Councilman...
I have a motion.
Go ahead.
I would like to move that we recess immediately into executive session not to exceed 20 minutes to discuss one or more matters in litigation or possible litigation deemed privileged under the attorney-client privilege is allowed under KSA 754319B2. The open meeting will resume in this room in the Cyrus K. Holliday Building. The following staff are necessary to assist the governing body in its deliberations: City Attorney Amanda Stanley, and any other staff the governing body finds useful.
I'll move. I'll third it if we can.
Okay, the motion came from Councilman Duncan, the second from Councilwoman Ortiz. Call the vote.
What do we got next? Council members Miller,
Yes. Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala.
Yes.
Council members Ortiz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
and Kell.
Yes.
All right, we have 9 yes, the motion carries.
5 minutes before we go into executive session. Do I hit this thing? We are out of executive session. No actions have been taken, and we will continue forward with the meetings and the action items. Moving on to action item J, which is workers' compensation claim settlement. City Clerk?
J is approval of workers' compensation claim settlement in the amount of up to $55,000 to resolve the claim with Michael R. Gomez for a work-related injury sustained while engaged in normal work duties.
City Manager, anything?
Thank you, Mayor and members of the governing body. We're here for any questions that you may have.
If not, is there a motion to approve?
Move approval.
Councilman Dobler, second. Second, Councilman Kell. Call the vote.
Okay, Councilmembers Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala.
Yes.
Councilmembers Ortiz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
and Miller.
Oh, Hiller, yes.
Yes.
Did I miss you? I'm sorry.
With the twins. It's all right.
All right,
was like,
9 yes.
Okay,
The motion
moving
carries.
on to action item 6K. This is, where am I?
We got approval of a settlement in the amount of up to
Thank you.
$397,500 to resolve claims with Jackie Russell arising out of or relating in any way to Russell's employment with the city on a full and final basis.
City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the governing body. We're here for any questions that you may have.
Call for a vote. Councilman Dobler.
Move approval.
Second.
Second.
Councilwoman Hofer. Call the vote.
Councilmembers Duncan,
Yes.
Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala.
Yes.
Councilmembers Ortiz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Kell,
No.
Miller,
Yes.
and Dobler.
Yes.
All right, we have 8 yes, with Councilmember Kell voting no, the motion carries.
Okay, moving on to 7 non-action items. A, discussion of transfer of property to Land Bank. City Clerk.
Let's see. A is discussion regarding the lots purchased at the county tax foreclosure sale.
And City Manager.
Thank you, Mayor and members of the governing body. I will turn this over to Amanda Stanley, our city attorney, to lead us through this item.
And before we start, public comment is allowed. Would anyone like to make public comment? Okay, go ahead, Ms. Stanley.
Okay, thank you so much, Deputy Mayor and Mr. City Manager. So a couple weeks ago, if you remember, you passed a resolution authorizing city staff to evaluate the tax sale and see if there were any properties that had special assessments on there that it would be in the best interest of the city to purchase those in order to protect the past due specials and place those in the land bank. At that tax sale, there were 3 properties held by Great American Bank. that were in the area commonly known as Lawrence Bay, that our finance staff did ultimately end up purchasing for the cost of the back due taxes. And then, of course, the city of Topeka gets its own share of the back due taxes back, and we do not pay the specials on those. Once you transfer, or once those are transferred from the county to the city, which has not yet occurred, tax sales take a little bit of time to get some deeds transferred over. Then the next step is to transfer them into our land bank, where they can be held and used with an RFP for redevelopment, and then the profits, hopefully profits that come off it, can be put back into the land bank to help with housing. And so Rhiannon Friedman's here to help answer any questions on that as well, since she worked very closely with the team that purchased that property.
Okay, thank you. Open it up for discussion. Councilwoman Ortiz.
I can't see her over there. Or where's she at? Oh, there, that's why I can't see her. I'm thinking it's Brenda. So this process is, so somebody gave us the land or we purchased the land? And then, go ahead.
Yeah, we purchased the land at the tax sale.
Okay. And then we put it in the land bank?
Not yet.
If you pass this resolution, you will.
Oh, this will allow that, okay, because I was like, I didn't think we had a problem with that. Okay, thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Anyone else? Discussion? No, it's discussion. Councilman Duncan, sorry.
I'll just add that the Land Bank Board has had a discussion about this property, taken a look at how it would fit into the overall program of the land bank, has signed off on it, and understands their goal is to get it off our hands for what we paid, if not more, and then use those resources for the other stuff we're trying to do. But I just think it's important everyone knows the Land Bank Board has taken a look at this and is okay with accepting those into the program.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I am going to suspend the rules and go ahead and make a motion to approve this. I don't, unless there's anybody else that sees a reason why we should not do that.
I'll second the motion to suspend the rules.
Okay, and so now we go for the vote?
Correct. It requires 7 votes.
Okay. Call the vote.
Okay, council members.
Oh, wait, I'm sorry. Councilman Kell, sorry.
Is this the vote to suspend the rules?
Yes.
Okay, so I just wanted to discuss it.
To suspend the rules.
All right, thank you.
Council members Hofer,
Yes.
Hiller,
I guess this is to stop discussion on this issue.
this is to suspend the rules to allow a vote. Since it's a discussion item, it can't be
I see.
voted on
Okay.
unless the rules are suspended.
Sorry. Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala,
Yes.
Ortiz,
Yes.
Banks,
Yes.
Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
and Duncan.
Yes.
Okay, the motion carries.
Okay, now that has passed, so now we are at Councilman Kell.
Just want a clarification on the land bank. As the councilman pointed out, to try to sell it for what we paid or more, does any of the sales come before us to approve, or are those just done through the land bank committee?
That would be done by the Land Bank Committee. So under the ordinance, there is a policy and procedure that they have to follow on how you pick developers and RFPs, and Rhiannon can speak to it far more brilliantly than I can. She lives and breathes it. But then the Land Bank Committee can sell the property out from it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Councilman Dobler.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I know it's only 3 lots, but it's in a fairly desirable area, and there's issues with specials in the future and things like that. I'm just wondering, is there a plan to put these together, put some sort of RFP out, look at ways that we can help facilitate moving those into getting to the point where somebody's building a house?
Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about how ways that we can be proactive about marketing them. Is it an RFP, reaching out to developers directly? But yeah, we'll be very swift in knowing that people are paying attention to those lots right now.
Great, thank you.
Anyone else? And so how would the motion, oh, yes, okay. Hello, Councilman Duncan.
I'll just add, especially because I think it's important for citizens to know, so these purchases were made outside of the money put aside for the land bank program. And so part of the agreement that we sort of talked to with staff and made as when we make this transfer will be that any funds made from the sale of these properties will first go to reimburse the purchase price. So that money goes back to the pot since it was from the general fund before any additional revenues would then go into the land bank. So there will be a reimbursement process to this too. I just think that's important for everyone to know since we used other money for this one. Thank you.
Okay, the motion. Oh, Councilwoman Hiller.
Thank you. Just to clarify a little bit more, I think people may be concerned about us being really speculative about this. We've talked about this a long time, and so you talked just now about doing an RFP. But in fact, we already know that there are developers that are interested in taking care of this, correct?
Yeah, we know that there are developers that have interest in those lots. We know the lots that were selected are prime developable. They're in great spaces that are just ready for development, so.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay, anyone else? So framing of the motion, if someone wants to put it
Motion to
forward.
approve.
Second by Councilwoman Ortiz, second by Councilman Dobler. Call the vote.
Councilmembers Hiller,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala,
No.
Councilmember Ortiz,
Yes.
Banks,
No.
Kell,
Yes.
Miller,
Yes.
Dobler,
Yes.
Duncan,
Yes.
and Hofer.
Yes.
All right, we have 7 yes with Councilmember Banks and Deputy Mayor Valdivia Akala voting no. The motion carries.
Okay, now moving on to number 8, public comment. At this time, I will call the individuals signed up to speak for general public comment to the podium. Each person will have 4 minutes to address the governing body. I have one person listed, Henry McClure, if you want to come up.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Also, thank you for the 2 no votes. That's good. It was interesting getting lectured a minute ago about how it was for impoverished areas and the downtrodden where nobody's going to want to develop. And then bingo, here we're at Lawrence Bay. I was told by a friend of mine the other day that maybe somebody pulled a thread on Lawrence Bay, and what I can't wait to find out is how many Lawrence Bays are really over there at that county. There could be a lot. Oh, I encourage you guys to look at my friend Rich Eckert's presentation this Monday to the County Commission about the tax sale. It was quite enlightening. The funnest part was when he was trying to say that they only look at the properties by, they only discuss them by parcel numbers and they never look at the last name. And then later on he goes, well, but before the tax sale, he had a meeting with Rhiannon to discuss some of the developments. Well, so he just admitted that he's engaging in being a developer. The county is behaving like a developer. So look, if you wanted these things to get developed, get out of the public's way. You should have just let them go to auction and let the market decide. Dana K. Anderson owns that bank. I can't wait to call him to tell him he's the last guy that need any help. But if you want to have the idea, so let me first just say you guys are trying to do good and you want these properties to develop in the downtrodden areas. But why don't you just get out of your own way? Just, hey, we'll give you the land, we'll waive the fees, here's the rules you gotta comply to, no building permit, bring it up to code. There's ways you can achieve what you want, maybe in a little simpler way, but you shouldn't be using 1 nickel of the taxpayers' dollar to be in the real estate business. Now, and this is just coming from a guy that brought you an offer on a hotel for $7.6 million. They never got a counteroffer. Let that sink in. That's what I hear day to day when I'm knocking on doors. They say, I like some of your ideas, but I'm worried about any savings that you might make just gets blown. Let the market decide. This idea of an iconic bridge, let's look downtown, let's go to 8th and Jackson, and let's look at the vacant buildings that sit there. You know, maybe one guy bites off more than he can chew. I can't wait to see how this Lauren Bay works out for that fella. God bless him. I hope he does it, because if he gets his RHID through, we win as a community. We had another developer in town that we had too many eggs in one basket and it didn't work out. And no matter how much money you have, you can't win on every deal. I played craps. You don't hit the numbers every time. Just please get out of the way of the private sector and let the markets decide. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now move on to announcements. City Clerk.
Okay, the November 5th governing body meeting has been canceled pursuant to Resolution 9481. It's for general elections. The city will host a public meet and greet on November 6th at the Emerald Ballroom in Hotel Topeka, located at 1717 Southwest Topeka Boulevard, from 5:30 to 7. The event will provide community members the chance to interact with candidates and ask questions. And then a special meeting executive session of the governing body has been called by City Manager Perez for consideration of police chief candidates. The meeting will be held on November 7 in the City Council chambers located at 214 Southeast 7th Street, second floor, from 6 p.m. to 9 p.m. And then finally, the November 12 meeting will be held in the City Council chambers located at 214 Southeast 8th Street, second floor.
Okay, City Manager.
Nothing for me, Mayor. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, who is the governing body member I start with? Miller, Councilman Miller.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. Nothing for me.
Okay, Councilman Dobler.
Nothing, Deputy Mayor.
Councilwoman Hofer. Oh, wait. I don't know. Which way am I supposed to go? Oh, Duncan, there you are.
Yeah, just a couple quick things. Two big things will happen between now and our next meeting. The one first will be Halloween, so be safe out there. Make sure we're watching out for everybody on Halloween night, and taking out for neighborhoods. The second thing, obviously, is there's an election, so please go out and vote. Today was the last day to register to vote, but if you are registered, then please make sure you go out on election day. And I wanted to remind everybody that the Union Pacific Big Boy engine is going through Kansas, and it will make its stop here in Topeka this Thursday at Great Overland Station at 12:15. It's only here for a half hour. It shows up at 12:15 and it departs at 12:45, but it's a historic engine that's making its trek through the state, and here's your chance to see it if you want to get out there on Thursday afternoon and check it out. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Sure, Councilwoman Hofer.
Nothing tonight.
Okay, then coming around this way, Councilwoman Hiller.
I too wanted to encourage everyone to get out to vote. If people aren't sure, one of the reasons I find that people don't vote when I'm knocking on the doorstep is they're not certain about where to go or exactly how things are. And it's possible to go to the Shawnee County Election Commissioner's website and just put in your own name and address and find out if you're registered, where your voting place is, and even see a sample ballot so that you can be prepared. Or certainly you can walk in. Advanced voting is available starting in a couple of days, and you can, again, have a look at the ballot and vote much more confidently. I also like to remind people that if they're uncertain about a candidate, sometimes people don't vote because they don't want to vote for the wrong person. If somebody's really certain about one or more campaigns or issues, they can vote just on those and be confident in laying their vote down in a place they were confident of and they really meant it. So encourage everybody once again. Thank you.
Councilwoman Ortiz.
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I just want to remind everybody to update or get a new smoke detector before October's up. And if you have updated or if you've gotten a new one, give somebody an application. I meant to bring some tonight, but I wasn't able to do that. And one last thing, if I could ask the fire chief to come up and give us one more tip, one more good tip that I don't know or that we don't know that we need to know. I don't ask you for I didn't ask you. I need the fire chiefs.
I would just say that that Braxton made me aware earlier tonight that we're actually going to be including a English and Spanish version of the smoke alarm application in the December water bills to every resident in the city that receives a water bill through the mail.
That's long and overdue, and I'd like to thank the city manager for following through with that. Tell me something else related to fire.
So if you have an older smoke alarm that's still within date, you still can apply to get it replaced, but that you need to check your batteries. So when we put new ones in, they are lithium-ion batteries, which should last for the life of the detector. But if you have installed them yourself, they may not have lithium-ion batteries, so you need to check your batteries and make sure that they're working properly.
Thank you. And if you've installed 15, you probably don't need to call or get an application.
Fair enough.
Councilman Banks?
Thank you, Deputy Mayor. I would like to just tell everyone that I was on the original committee to start the smoke alarm program. Having the smoke alarms are great, but you still need to plan how you're going to get out if you have a fire. Being the public educator for the fire department for 17 years, I'm here if anybody needs to talk to me about planning. Thank you, Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Councilman Banks. Councilman Kell?
Just wanted to say happy birthday to the Navy. Sunday was the 249th birthday of the Navy, so happy birthday to all my brothers and sisters in the Navy. Halloween, be safe with your kids. Make sure they have things that light up on their body. Their mask they're visible to see out the eyes. Do all those things you need to do to make sure that your kids are safe when they're out trick-or-treating. Also, we have 3 events coming up at the hotel. We have a Halloween party on the 31st, and then 2 rodeo-based events at the hotel also after the rodeo is over. So make sure you check out those events. I know they're on the city Facebook page, and hopefully soon the hotel will have an events page. But get out and try something fun and something new that we're trying as a city to get people out. So if you don't have the youngins, come up to the hotel.
All right, thank you. I think I'm last, so everyone have a safe Halloween. Get out and vote, and congratulations to Adrian Lehman, senior at Topeka West, who in the cross-country city meet this past Saturday placed second. And so just wanted to say to this grandson, we're proud of you and we love you and hope you're watching. I doubt it, but congratulations anyway. So there is a need for 2 executive sessions. If the city attorney will state the motion.
The motion would be to recess into executive session not to exceed 30 minutes to discuss employer-employee negotiations relating to one or more unions as justified by KSA 734319B3. The meeting will resume in this room of the Cyrus K. Holiday Building. The following staff are necessary to assist the governing body in its deliberations: City Manager Perez and any other staff he deems necessary.
A motion to approve, anyone?
Move to approve.
Councilman Kell, second.
Second.
Second by Councilman Banks. The vote?
Yes.
All in favor say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed?
Aye.
Okay, so how long should we take for this? 5 minutes and then go in, or just go straight in? What do you want?
Got to clear the room.
10 minutes? Okay, we'll reconvene in 10 minutes. Do I do this? All right, there is no need for a second executive session. Excuse me. We have reconvened the meeting and are now back in open session with no action being taken by the governing body during the executive session. If there's no further business before the governing body, the meeting is adjourned.